Welcome to the DeVory Darkins Show. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Young Republicans chat group that has completely gone viral. It's exploding. Democrats are going to weaponize it, of course. And there's some tough conversations we have to have about it, obviously. And secondly, the Supreme Court is hearing a case out of Louisiana regarding the Voting Rights Act. And this is due to Louisiana redistricting, and they believe it's race-based. And so both of these stories today are going to involve some race, which is why I got my cigar with me today, because we're going to have some tough conversations. So if you're joining us now, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, bringing you common sense commentary for uncommon times. And let's go ahead and play this first clip where CNN is talking about this chat group. And I want you to pay attention to the way they're covering this. Let's play that now.
Some exclusive reporting from Politico. They're reporting on leaked messages from leaders of young Republican groups across the country. It is, of course, trending on X and other places. What you're seeing is the article's headline there. But here's a little bit more of what that text says. It says these young Republican leaders, they referred to black people as monkeys and the, quote, watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. They talked about raping their enemies and driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who they believe support slavery. Lee, how much concern should there be in the Republican Party about this particular issue that has come up? And even in those text messages that you're seeing, they worry that someone might see them, but they continue to say these things.
Well, I think it's horrifying. There's no way to justify it. There's no way to say that this isn't a big issue. And I think, frankly, J.D. Vance's comments on this didn't go far enough. He said, these are boys, or he said something sort of dismissive about it, and said, let's really focus on what the Democrats are saying instead. This should be absolutely, without doubt, unequivocally rejected. Talking about this as hate, talking about this as unacceptable, and that should be that. This shouldn't even be a topic of conversation, but it will continue to be a topic of conversation unless people put this to bed. And all of these gentlemen that were on this have lost jobs, and they should. And this really is, it's outrageous, and everyone should say what it is.
Yeah, everybody should say what it is. So why don't we do that here for a second? Let's go to the article itself. And I'm going to tell you guys bottom line up front. This is more of a PR problem than it is what the mainstream media is describing. So what they want to do is make this into a racial issue, that Republicans are racist and they are targeting people of color and all this other stuff. No, that's not what is happening today, okay? So why don't we get into the messages and I'll show you some of it. And again, this was posted by Politico, so I think that tells you everything you need to know there. And it says, we also hate Jews. It was they love the watermelon people, etc. I mean, these are all the comments. But the interesting thing, if we actually get out a reader here and look at the article itself, there it is. So they did a nice job of really, I guess, sprucing this up to hit home at people's emotions and to get people triggered at a racial level. This is what the media does every time, and I'm not going to buy it, okay? Listen, I got people sometimes in my comments saying some disgusting things about me here on Rumble. Yeah, but it's free speech, and people are going to say some ignorant things, and at the end of the day, I don't care what other people say, and neither should we. The only time we should care is when we have elected leaders threatening to kill somebody or wanting to see somebody killed, including their children, and we will get to that here shortly. At any rate, if we just kind of scroll down, as I was reading this article, I started to realize that what the media is doing is framing this as a chat group that was speaking in a serious tone. That's not what was happening. It was a chat group of immature young adults joking, using sarcasm, and doing what all young people do. They say ignorant things. When I served 13 years in the military, I'm going to tell you, I heard some ignorant things. And even myself, I've been guilty at saying ignorant things in the past as well. And obviously, as you grow older, you kind of police up your language a little bit based on what room you're in. Let's just be honest about it. Anyways, as you read all of this, which you can on your own, this was more of jokes, sarcasm, ignorance, but none of it was really, in my opinion, a serious tone. And that's what I want to just say right up front as we compare this to what Democrats usually talk about, which is clearly violence and murder, like we've seen from the Democrat candidate for Attorney General out of the state of Virginia. And so there's a difference there. And that's why, if we actually go to what J.D. Vance had to say, zoom in here for you guys. J.D. Vance, this is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia refused to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence, and he put up the actual screenshot of Jay Jones and what he had stated, okay? Now, before I go any further and provide you really or some thoughts about what I think about this, let's hear Ben Ferguson on Abby Phillips last night on CNN and what he had to say about this.
He's unwilling to just say, this is disgusting, this is vile, this has no place in the Republican Party, cut it out.
Yeah, two things I think can be true here. Number one, I'm glad we know who these conservatives are. I think there should be consequences for their words. I don't think this is just a teaching moment. I think if they have a job, they should lose their job. I don't think they should work in the Republican Party. I don't think they should be involved in the Republican Party. I think they should be excommunicated and put on the bench for a pretty good amount of time. I want to be clear about that. I also think that if you are about to be in an elected office in Virginia and you've said things that are worse than this, and you've said that the kids deserve to be hurt, that two things can be true at the same time. Republicans, young Republicans saying this, they should absolutely have the consequence.
But it's not just young Republicans, Ben.
But Keith,
but Democrats have defended an individual who said that family members should die.
Let me just say, I mean, these are separate incidents.
Yeah.
However, the same question that I posed to them does apply to Democrats in the case of the Virginia case. And,
thank you.
And it's easy to say I condemn that. How hard is it for J.D. Vance to say I condemn?
All right, yeah. So as you guys can see, they're just overly emotional about it. They want to see the words that say that they condemn it. Now, of course, the board of directors for Young Republicans National Federation, that's where this chat group originated from. They put out this statement saying, we are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed in the political article published today, which obviously, who's leaking these chat groups, by the way? That's a whole messy thing in and of itself, okay? I mean, if you have people in your organization, in your team, leaking private conversations, that is another conversation, right? That's another problem in and of itself. So it speaks to who's running the show over there, right? Anyways, such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents. Those involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local young Republican organizations. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. Now, I don't disagree with that statement. I mean, board of directors, the right to say that anybody involved in this scandal should resign. That's in their purview. That's the authority that they possess. They can say that. I have no issues with that. However, I do have an issue with Democrats being louder about this than they were about what Jay Jones said. Now, of course, that's also known as whataboutism, right? What about this? What about that? But in the context of political violence and this hateful rhetoric that we're continuing to see accelerate in today's climate, I think both issues have to be discussed in the same breath, okay? Now, that takes me to this statement put up by Sher Michael Singleton, because I think he put it nicely, and I want to shout him out because I love the way he articulates things. Here's what he said. I saw a few photos of the guys from that now infamous group text and immediately thought, who on earth would be threatened by those clowns? Out of shape, puffing their chest in private chats, making racist jokes about watermelon people, while likely one fast food order away from cardiac arrest. That's really good. Now, that's a joke worthy of actual laughter. It's a level of self-oblivion you don't often see. The ridicule they deserve is self-inflicted. Yeah, they did it to themselves, okay? We all know we don't really live in a private world. If you decide to put some crazy statements in a chat group, you know potentially that could be leaked, it could be stolen, it could be taken out of context. That's just the life you sign up with when you're in politics, okay? The man who can't master himself will always seek mastery over others. So when you think about racism in this sense, it's not merely moral failure, it's cowardice. Conservatives were right to repudiate these fools. There's no defense of the indefensible. The creed of the right must rest on merit, duty, and self-command, not resentment or hatred. And here's the bottom line to it. That said, I've seen some conservatives point to Jay Jones in Virginia and note the lack of pressure from Democrats for him to withdraw from the race. They're right, he should. Calling for the murder of a political opponent and their children should be disqualifying enough. But it's also true that Republicans can call out racism within our own ranks. Both things could be true at the same time. Actually, let me read one more point here. Let's remember it was a coalition of multiple groups that fueled Republicans' victories last November. So when someone claims that accountability equals weakness, ask them for data to support it. They won't have any because it doesn't exist. That narrative is an excuse wrapped in a lazy political analysis. Now, let me just say this before we go to the next clip. I don't think the event itself is an issue here because I'm not surprised. Private chat groups you're always going to find some crazy things on both sides. I mean, just imagine chat groups of Democrats right now celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. They were upset that President Trump wasn't assassinated last year. I'm sure we can find plenty. But the fact remains this chat group was leaked, so we have to talk about it. We have to address it. And the fact that it was leaked speaks to a few things for me. Number one, they got a messy operation over there. Who is leaking chat groups over there? Number two, their culture needs to be looked at. So I get young, immature people are going to make some jokes. That's not really my problem. Okay. I think that's interesting. But three, which is the most important point, it's the reaction to this. That really is what does damage to our society, not these events. It's our reaction to these events. And the reaction from mainstream media and Democrats, I believe, really sums up why half of this country continues to be misleading. Now, let me just show you an example of that. This is MSDNC last night, making this all about black people and that Republicans are racist. Let's go and play that.
I mean, at some level, this is not surprising.
No.
Particularly because you can kind of see, I mean, it all sounds like stuff you see out in the open. Mm-hmm. But it does seem important to me that, like, to connect, New York Times did this great piece the other day where they were talking about the highest levels of government and all of the officials of color, particularly black officials who have been fired.
That's right.
Lost their jobs. Yeah. Like, it's not really an abstraction.
Right.
This kind of bigotry and animus and what this government is currently doing. There, you see it right there.
Yeah, yeah. And also I would add to that, other things that are like patently obvious. We have had this incredible repressive attack on immigrants, even people who are in the country legally. These are overwhelmingly people of color who we see being thrown to the ground and yanked out of cars and all these. And at the same time, there's this curious benevolence toward white South Africans who are invited into the country. What gives?
Special status.
Yeah, special status. Like, how does that work? I'm old enough to remember the alleged S-hole countries. I'm old enough to remember when Hillary Clinton was pilloried for saying that Donald Trump had aligned himself with a set of people who would be considered deplorable. But we see this kind of language, this kind of grab bag of bigotries, the kind of dueling homophobia, misogyny, anti-Semitism, racism, like all of the kinds of worst traits. And it's been emboldened, has been facilitated by the movement, the Trumpist movement.
Okay. Yeah, this is why nobody watches mainstream media, of course. So he's upset, and I guess they're trying to connect this chat group to the fact that the president got elected again, came in and cleaned house, and replaced a lot of people who happen to be people of color. Listen, and just so you guys understand where I stand, the racism issue, does it exist in this country? Yeah, but that's not the biggest threat to black people. The biggest threat to black people is the way they think, the culture. That's the biggest threat. And you know who's subsidizing that culture and cramming this victimization down their throats? White liberal women. They're the ones who push DEI so hard to the point it damaged the black image even more. All you have to do, if you really want to get a good laugh at this, is read 107 Days from Kamala Harris. She says that the Biden administration never respected her, never gave her a platform, didn't take any of her ideas. Now, why is that? Because they made you vice president because your skin color and your gender, not because you have intellect, not because you earned it, not because you have merit. And so when people are giving someone an opportunity because they think you're a victim, they don't respect you. You can't have it both ways. You either want to be respected and you want to earn something, or you want a handout, but you can't have both. And that's a problem with DEI and where we're at as a country. Now, that doesn't mean there are people out there that clearly maybe have a certain prejudice towards black people, or they think all black people are the same. I see them in my comments every day. It's fine. There's no changing those people. They operate from a place of ignorance. If they can't exercise critical thinking skills to realize that when they encounter a black person and see a black person who's intelligent, that they can separate that from the other part of the group who isn't. If someone can't do that, there's no helping them. Okay, so let's go to this next clip. This is, again, Abby Phillips, where it's a good point that was actually made. Play this right now.
The point that I'm making, if you're trying to say that these texts are symbolic of the Republican Party at large, then I can say that Jay Jones's texts are symbolic of the Democrat Party.
You know what? You can't say that
because
when Jay Jones says something, Democrats condemn it, like I just
we
did.
Just don't
but
condemn
J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, refused to condemn what these Republicans did. The Vice President of the United States, even though the Vice President of the United States, because Donald Trump has a history of racism, and the fish rots from the head.
Wait a second.
These people didn't get this idea on their own. They're getting it from Donald Trump.
Who is Jay Jones's model?
Just give me.
Jay Jones is not the issue.
Just give me 1 second.
It's the same. It's the same philosophy.
He's already been
All right, everybody stop. Everybody stop for just
stupid, disgusting
one
texts
second.
saying it's the Republican Party. What is the difference between me saying it's a Democrat?
But hold on. That's why I want you guys to stop for just a second. But Keith, is that what you're saying? Is that this is representative of the Republican Party?
I am saying exactly that. The Republican Party in the past 10 years has moved down the road of racism. So it's not surprising that you see the open embrace of Nazism, of anti-Semitism, of homophobia, of transphobia, of sexism, of attacks on immigrants and xenophobia, because the Republican Party under Donald Trump.
Okay, I can't hear anymore. Listen, let's just compare it. Let's take his thoughts as truth, that the Republican Party is racist. Let's go with that. Okay. Which party actually creates policies that are racist? Is it Republicans or Democrats? Please give me your answers in the chat. Please, let me know. Which party, especially if you think about the last 10 years, go all the way back to Obama, which party creates policies that are inherently racist? Now, I know the answers to that. It's Democrats. They use, reverse racism in order to think that they're fixing the system, okay? So let's give black people this handout, or people of color, that is, because that's what they like to use. Let's give them a handout. Let's make sure more of them get into Harvard, even if they don't really earn it on merit. And let's discriminate. Let's not help Asians get in. Let's not help white people get in. In fact, let's go ahead and start alienating white people and telling them that they're evil. Now, how does that actually solve this problem of racism? It doesn't. In fact, it just makes it worse. And it makes it worse for black people. That's why I said white people, in the context of white Republicans or white conservatives, they are not a problem. It's this victimization and racist ideas that are a problem for the black community. Listen, some of you guys know my personal story. I have two parents who were drug addicts. Okay, clearly I'm a black person. A white man did not do that. Black people did that to me, okay? I had to be adopted. Black people did that to me. So my mother, who adopted me, funny enough, she never made my childhood about race. That's why I say I'm a big proponent of mindset. We become what we think about, but most of what we do is based on programming, the way we grew up. That's why I'm so grateful for my mother. She never made anything about race. That's why I don't look at it that way. But when you grow up every day as a black person and everybody wants to make everything about race, what happens to you? That's the way you see things. And so this whole chat group with the young Republicans, should there be accountability within their own organization? Yeah, go right on ahead. But that's not really the talking point here. The talking point is we have someone running for office right now who is black, by the way, okay, running for office, not just any type of office, but to be the Attorney General of the state of Virginia, in a chat saying that he wants to see his political opponents murdered, including his children. And he wants to see law enforcement also get shot so they can experience pain. Now, again, why should we compare these two situations? Because of the reaction we're seeing from mainstream media, the attention, the energy they're putting into all of this, including the Democrat Party. They have a lot to say about this chat group, but really did not have to say anything about Jay Jones. Isn't that interesting? And when they had to talk about Jay Jones, you know what they did? Well, I know him. He's a good guy. It's okay. Let's go ahead and get this election. That's what they care about. Democrats care about winning elections at all costs, even if it means cheating, even if it means putting up with pedophiles, even if it means putting up with racist people, even if it means putting up with people who are violent and want to see their political opponents assassinated. I don't really see that from people on the right. Do you? I really don't. So the vice president, could he have worded his ex post differently? Sure, if you want to be the police of his statements, but he's not running for office, and neither are the young adults in the young Republicans group chat. None of them are running for office right now. Maybe they will in the future, and if whoever is caught or names come up, they'll have to answer for that, just like Jay Jones needs to answer for what he said. But I think two things could be true at the same time, that this is becoming a PR issue for Republicans as usual, because they're not really good at selling. Democrats historically have been good at selling to the American people because they used to talk about ideas. Now they only talk about Trump. And Republicans are still trying to figure out, in my opinion, how to sell better. Selling right now, in this moment we find ourselves in, would have been to come out, condemn this, throw it in the trash, and move on and talk about Jay Jones. That would be the most optimal thing from a political strategist point of view. And that's just me. I'm not a political strategist, but that's just the way that I think about it. All right, let's read a couple more text messages. Then we'll get to your guys' chat here and what you guys have to say here. This was actually, let's go here so people can see it. This was put up by Tim Pool, and I think it's a great picture that kind of sums up this entire situation. Did you see all of the horrible things the young Republicans were saying in their group chat, and the guy's talking to a shooter? I think that sums up this whole debate. All right. That's just the way that I see it. All right. So having said all that, why don't we come back to me here? Yeah, you guys just answer in the comment section below how you guys feel about all this. Do you believe the people that are part of this chat group should be, fired, I don't know what the word might be. Do you think they deserve some level of accountability? How do you guys feel about it? And if you do, what do you make of Democrats' reaction to this? Why is it that they're melting down over this so much, but not over what Jay Jones said? Let's go to the chat feed on YouTube here. Can't we all just get a bong? Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see here. Abby Phillips is a disgusting purpose to accuse, promote it. There's nothing racist about it. Are you really sure these are Republicans and not Democrats? Yeah, that's a good point. Well, they haven't denied it, so clearly it is them. Let's see here. Free speech, private message, not the media business. But I also see the comments coming from the same few people could also be anti-GOP infiltrated agitators. That's a good angle. I haven't heard of that. Here is a good comment, and I've actually spoken to a couple of people who are much older than me. They would be technically in my grandmother's generation. I used to ask them, I said, hey, was racism a problem back in the 80s and 90s and 70s? And they would say, not really. Because back then, people understood the word respect and boundaries, meaning, hey, man, I know you don't like black people, and we'll just keep it there. And if I can run into you, I'll say, hi, how are you? Good to go. All right. And move on about our day. There was none of this going on social media, amplifying it, getting it, racism crammed down your throats by the media, of course. People, and if there was a problem back then there would be a discussion face to face about it. Now, I can't speak to before the 70s because I haven't spoken to anybody who really grew up in that area for obvious reasons. But my point here is the word racism has been used more than any time in history, and it's the year 2025. Don't you guys find that interesting? Right? I wonder why that is. Well, obviously, the answer to that is social media. That's number one. And number two, politicians have got in on this, particularly the Democrat Party, because that's how they plan to win elections. They try to use racism. And when that didn't work, they try to prosecute the president. And when that doesn't work, what are they doing now? They're going to violence. Super chat from Deb Longo. DeVory, I love your show. I'm curious. The Supreme Court is getting ready to vote on the redistricting that was started back in the 60s. If they vote to get rid of the gerrymandering, Dems lose 30 seats. We're about to talk about that. That is our second story, but thank you for your super chat. Yeah, a lot of people are saying it here. I grew up in the 70s, 80s. Wasn't really a problem back then. Exactly. See, racism is not a problem today. What it is people's mindset. It's what they've made up in their own head. You see, this quote, it kind of goes like this. I'm like, if I'm assuming you think a certain way about me, I'm toast already. Because I have no data points to prove you really think that about me. I'm not in your head. I don't know what you're thinking about most of the day. And by the way, most people don't even think. They're on autopilot. Okay? So the mistake when you really study mindset and trying to live a happy life, a productive life, and to really be based in your purpose, you got to stop worrying about what other people think. And even when people say ignorant things, what does that got to do with me exactly? Right? I mean, they're not paying my bills. Okay, they're not running into my house. Right? I mean, they're no threat. If there are a threat, it's because I'm making it up in my own mind. But that's what Democrats want their base to believe, that the white man is a threat, that the system is a threat. No, it's your lack of critical thinking skills that is the true threat. That's why most people are weak-minded. That's why most people are negative. The natural thing for people to do in America is to think negatively. It's because we're not taught how to think for ourselves. That's the bottom line to it. And that's why I'm grateful for serving in the military, because you get to see different personalities, religions. You get to go to other countries and see their culture and see how they live. This is a freaking joke. This is not threatening anybody. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what we got. Brandon Lehman says, digging the live streams, bro. Thank you very much. Appreciate your super chat. Let's see here. DeVory, don't we think it would be a good idea for all kids at high school level to be required to participate in a debate team? Yeah, of course. You know, here's a policy thing for me. And some of you guys may not like this, but if it was me, I would actually take that idea of a debate. Okay, kids should learn how to communicate their ideas and debate and face confrontation and understand how to work through that in their senior year. They should be required to do that. And they should also be required to leave this country and stay in another country, in a different culture, in a different community, so that when they come back, they're grateful for the freedoms we have. We have the freedom to even talk about what we are talking about right now. We have the freedom to see this group chat play out the way that it has. We have the freedom to see Jay Jones wanting his political opponents to be murdered. He's not going to prison over that. I would call that freedom. That's free speech. Some people call it hate speech. I'm not really obsessed with it, okay? All right, one more, and then we'll go to Rumble. I miss when the Dems were more Sesame Street and less Skid Row. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, right? A good way of putting it. All right, let's see what Rumble has to say. All right. Yeah, hate speech isn't real. I agree. Let's see here. Army was the best social lesson of my life. Exactly. I totally agree. Republicans can't play chess. I think that is a legitimate criticism. That's why I said it's not this chat group that is a problem. It's just that Republicans, the message is scattered. You got some people saying these people should be fired. Then you have some people, these people should be condemned. And then you have some people not even mentioning it, going straight to Jay Jones. So it's not really unified. There's different competing reactions. Now, the good part about that, it continues to prove that conservatives are independent thinkers. They all have their own opinion, and they're not scared to share it, right? Unlike Democrats. Let's see here. Let me back up because I want to see. Yeah, 60s, 70s, 80s, I never heard of racism. Let's see here. I graduated with 4.0, but could not apply for a single scholarship. I wonder why. Racism was dying, then Obama. Yeah, a lot of people blame him. Race relations went out the window when he was elected. Let's see here. Yeah, here's a good point. A generation of young white adults have lost their dreams of success. They give it to POCs in the name of DEI. Of course, it breeds racism. Yeah, that is a legitimate point. My black friend said the worst things about white people, even when they are married to them. Yeah, that's why I said it's more of a manufactured crisis that algorithms on social media, mainstream media, Hollywood, and politicians have taken advantage of. They know bringing up race on social media will get someone to be angry or get someone to be engaged. That's why the algorithm will cram it down people's throat. Mainstream media knows it's going to get clicks when you are able to play a video of a white officer shooting a black man, even though it happened at max 9 times during COVID or something like that in 1 year. But they made everybody think it was happening 90% of the time, which is unheard of. Okay. And then if you take a look at Hollywood, what do they do with the black image? Majority of movies coming out of Hollywood that star black people is about slavery. Now, I don't mind a good slavery movie, by the way. I think there's some good ones out there, just the story itself. But if that's all you're ever going to show people, then that's all they're ever going to think. It's programming. When you're sitting down for a movie, you are emotionally involved. So the ideas that are being presented in the movie, some of these people take those ideas as reality. And that's why Hollywood is dangerous. Same thing with hip hop music. I can keep going with all this, but anyways, let me keep reading this here. The Democrat politicians or public-facing figures, media won't say anything bad about one of their own. Their only concern is power and narrative. Exactly. Black culture was admired in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. I totally agree. Maybe it was planned. Get a bunch of Democrats infiltrating a Republican group and then release their chat. Sounds more like the left and deep state, in my opinion. Could be. We don't have any evidence of that yet, but maybe not. They haven't denied it. That's the thing. They haven't denied that they said these things. If you watch that clip, the man is saying Republicans are racist and bigots and blah, blah, blah. But okay, so you have been saying that forever. Why aren't you acting so surprised if you believed it? Yeah, that's a good point. That's why I asked you guys. Let's just take their argument as truth, that Republicans are racist. Even if that was true, that still isn't a threat to black people. The threat to black people is when you start creating policies that are racist or really a threat to this country. That's what happened with DEI. Now, here's a personal story, and then I'll move on because I can keep going. So some of you guys know I served in the Army for 13 years, and I was a sergeant first class. I reached that rank year 9. I was like one of the youngest. I was 27 at the time. And so I get to E7, and I thought I was going to be happy because, you reach a high level of success. It was a goal of mine. And I wasn't happy. I was kind of, I felt like something was missing. And I was a little stubborn back then. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I just didn't make my goal high enough. So I'm going to become an officer instead, which is a really difficult thing to do once you're in E7. I mean, it's a different school of thought, different way of operating in the military when you go from being enlisted to officer. So I went to officer candidate school, etc., graduated. It was great. And the last conversation I had with my officer recruiter, because you get assigned one, she said, hey, I want you to talk to this colonel. His name is Colonel Bond. Interesting name, by the way. He was a black colonel, full bird. And I want you to talk to him because he's looking for more black officers to be in his unit. And when she told me that, my heart just skipped a beat. And I knew right then and there it was my time to get out. That was my nail in the coffin. Because when I was serving, this was back in 2017, 2016, you could tell the direction that the military was about to go in. It was really headed to super woke stuff and low standards. And when she told me that, then I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. I am no use to the military. If this is what you're going to do, if you're just going to promote me because of my skin color and not because I earned it, I'm good. I'd rather take my chances outside the military. And that's what happened. I got out. So, you know, this DEI stuff is more damaging to black people than anything else because it doesn't give us an opportunity to put our mind towards something and earn it. And just because you put your mind towards something and you believe you earned it doesn't mean you're always going to be rewarded in that moment. Maybe God has something better for you. That's the other thing that black people have to understand. Just because somebody didn't promote you doesn't mean they're racist. Maybe God knows better than you. Have you ever just thought about that for a second? Maybe there's a better place, a better job, a better opportunity. Maybe you're not ready. I think that is a much more intelligent way to think about it. All right, so let's move to this next story. This is about the Supreme Court hearing a case regarding the Voting Rights Act, which is also racially based, which is so interesting that we have to segue into this. Let's hear a little summary of this now.
Happening now, the U.S. Supreme Court will consider a case that could gut the nation's landmark Voting Rights Act. In today's case from Louisiana, the justices could erase decades of court decisions and bar states from considering race when drawing up new congressional districts. The 1965 law, signed by President Lyndon Johnson, aimed to protect the voting power of minorities by targeting the discriminatory drawing of districts. And this morning, there are protests, as you see, right outside the Supreme Court. The oral arguments are due to begin at any moment now.
Okay, so let's show you what the Voting Rights Act really is, because I want to make sure you guys have the right information and you're educated. And what I'm using is this tool called Venice AI, all right? Venice AI is a chat that you can go to do your research, get questions answered, and it won't be saved and it's uncensored. So when you're thinking about ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini from Google, these chats are saved, okay, and they're censored and they're filled with woke programming. Well, Venice AI prides itself on not being any of that, okay? And if you guys are interested in checking it out for yourself, the link is in the chat and in the description below. But let me just show you how it works and why I believe it is valuable. So I searched this, explain the Voting Rights Act, and use analogies to explain the points of view from both sides of the debate, then connect it to what SCOTUS is hearing right now in regards to this case. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965 is a landmark piece of legislation in the United States that prohibits racial discrimination in voting. It was enacted to address the historical disenfranchisement, big word there, of minority voters, particularly Black Americans in the South, by ensuring that all citizens have equal access to the voting process. The act has several key provisions, but the current debate focuses on Section 2, which prohibits electoral maps that dilute the voting power of minority voters, even without direct proof of racist intent. Now, to understand the current debate, I asked it to give us two analogies here. This is the first one, the school bus. Imagine a school district with two schools, one predominantly white and one predominantly minority. The school district decides to redraw the bus routes to ensure that minority students have a fair chance to attend either school. However, A group of white parents argued that these bus routes are discriminatory because they consider race. The school district is in a bind. If they ignore race, they risk, perpetrating segregation. If they consider race, they might be accused of reverse discrimination. This is similar to the situation with the Voting Rights Act, where states must balance the need to protect minority voting power with the constitutional principle of color blindness. We'll skip analogy number 2 and just go to this. I have one more point for you. In the current Louisiana case, the Supreme Court is considering whether using race as a factor in creating election districts violates the 14th Amendment's guarantee of equal protection. This case could significantly impact the future of redistricting and the power dynamics in Congress. If the court rules against considering race in redistricting, it could lead to a shift in congressional seats, potentially benefiting Republican control of Congress. And that is the story here, folks, and why Democrats are in a state of panic. I'm going to show you some supporting clips to prove that very point. But again, what you're seeing here is Venice AI. Again, it's uncensored, unfiltered, not filled with woke programming. It does not save your chat messages. So if I hit delete here, it is gone forever. And that's why I think if you want to be able to do your research using the AI tool and not having to worry about any of that, check out Venice AI by going in the link in the description below or in the chat. You could click on it for yourself. Now, having said all that, let's hear what people are saying in the media, starting with Kalshi prediction market and how if the Supreme Court rules against this, right, and gets rid of this whole idea of racial-based redistricting, how it's going to end the power dynamics for Democrats. Take a look.
You know, if you go back 6 months ago, you go back to April, Kate Baldwin, what were we looking at? Well, we were looking at the Democrats with a very clear shot of taking control of the U.S. House of Representatives, according to the Kalshi prediction market odds. We saw them at an 83% chance. But those odds have gone plummeting down. Now we're talking about just a 63% chance, while the GOP's chances up like a rocket, up like gold, up from 17% to now a 37% chance. So we'll look like a pretty clear likely Democratic win in the House come next year has become much closer to a toss-up at this point, although still slightly leaning Democratic.
Okay. That guy's really animated, isn't he? Yeah. So the Democrats are freaking out because the math just isn't going to add up for them because they have two problems. One, Texas has decided to obviously redistrict their maps. So that's already a problem for them, and a couple of other states as well. Florida has not decided to do so yet. But if they do, I mean, that's pretty much the end for them. And secondly, you have this case in front of the Supreme Court because of the way that Louisiana has their maps drawn. And it's really weird. I wonder if we can actually find a photo of that map here. Let me just see if I could pull it up for you guys. Because when I looked at the map, I was really shocked by the image of it. I mean, it goes straight through Louisiana. Let's see here. I might have it right here. Okay, we'll probably circle back on that. Let's continue to hear from Harry Enton as he continues to show the chances of Democrats maintaining power in Congress. It's slim. Let's go.
2018, right? Because that's sort of the baseline. That was, of course, the first Trump term. That was where Democrats were sort of keeping pace. You go back to April, look at the generic congressional ballot. What you see? You see +3 Democrats in 2025 in April. You see +3 Democrats back in April of 2017. Now jump over to this side of the screen. What happens? Well, the Democrats are no longer keeping pace with the pace that they were setting back in 2017, 2018. You look back in 2017, you saw that the Democrats had leaped up to an 8-point advantage. I remember covering this. I remember a lot of folks, including myself, saying, you know what, Republicans look pretty decent right now in terms of the fact that they had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency, but things were likely going to flip. And I was looking for the same signs this year. The bottom line is it hasn't happened, Kate Baldwin. It hasn't happened. Democrats have stayed basically steady. They have fallen off the pace. Democrats were way out ahead back in 2017 on the generic congressional ballot. And now we're basically looking at Democrats ahead. But again, they are so far in back of the pace that they set back there. And so I think what a lot of folks are seeing, folks like myself, are saying, wait a minute, given what we might be seeing in redistricting, is this +3 going to be enough, Kate?
Probably not. Probably not. And that's why I wanted to show you guys this map. So if the Supreme Court rules against race-based gerrymandering, this is what some people think will happen. Let me scroll up so you guys can see this. So the South will be predominantly Republican districts. Now, in a perfect world, this wouldn't really be an issue because it would represent the culture of these states. And generally speaking, and this might be an oversimplification of this debate or this issue, is that I'm not too sure I'm against where if you don't like what your state represents, or you don't like what your state believes in, whether that is religion and culture and abortion and same-sex marriage, whatever that is, then go to a different state that does. And I kind of look at it the same way with voting. And the same thing with crime. If you don't like what your state is doing, you only have two options: be a part of the solution by running for office or something of that nature, or being an activist, whatever, or move. Because you could vote, but like we've seen in California, as a Republican in California, your vote doesn't mean anything because they have a super majority. I mean, and most of the population is in blue cities, which is majority of California. So, you know, I'm not too sure how far the Republican vote goes in California. I'm just using that as an example. Now, on a more, I guess, deep level thought here, is this an issue for the country? Whether we keep it the way that it is or we change it, what would be the negative impacts of this? Will black people or people of color, as Democrats want to put it, be disenfranchised, as they like to put it, when it comes to voting? I don't think so. Because why would you want a Democrat who believes men can play in women's sports and you know, you can have 1,000 genders and political violence is okay? Why would you want someone like that representing your district anyway? For example, why would someone want Jasmine Crockett representing their district? I had a conversation with a family friend, actually my uncle, and he was like, I can't believe the president said that Jasmine Crockett is low IQ. Listen, she didn't grow up low IQ. She is intentionally talking at a low IQ level. So she's low IQ for doing that because she thinks that's what's going to sell. That's what's going to get attention. And while she's doing all that, you know what she's not doing? Serving the people that got her elected. So if they do change these maps and Republicans have much more control, what's happening is what Democrats did to begin with. And so it's swinging, right? Things are coming full circle. It's cause and effect. And if this ends up happening in time, probably 10 years, 20 years down the road, things will change again. So just the way that our country works, it's a season, it's a rhythm. It goes in, it goes out, it goes in, it goes out. And we're seeing that with this entire case now, because a Supreme Court in the future could rule again back in favor of this. And that is a healthy constitutional republic. I'm not going to say democracy because I know it triggers some people out there. All right, let's look at this from another perspective. Here is, I guess, CNN again, sounding the alarm for Democrats.
Actually represents pretty accurately, mathematically, how the country is divided over the question of the presidency. But if you look at this is what the party pickups would be for congressional districts. Republicans, 5. Missouri, 1. North Carolina, 1. Ohio, 2 or 3. Indiana, 1 or 2. Florida, still discussion down there, but that could be another gold mine for them if they tipped it even further their way. Kansas, 1. New Hampshire, 1. And Nebraska. Democrats, Utah, California, Maryland. Look at this. If you offset California and Texas, Missouri and Utah, North Carolina and Maryland, everything left over is an advantage to the Republicans. And don't forget, the Supreme Court is considering what could really be the end of the Voting Rights Act, which would protect minority groups. So you don't have a state that's half black, for example, that elects only one congressional member and everybody else goes to the Republicans that would represent that population in some ways. So if that is gutted, Democrats could lose 19 seats. This would be a huge amount. But this is also a measure of how much the White House is concerned about this, because Donald Trump knows if the Democrats get the House again, there could be new investigations just like last time. There could be a new impeachment. There could be a lot of impediment to these plans that right now the Republicans in the House and Senate are letting run like a freight train.
Interesting. Now, why does the president know that? Because Democrats are not afraid to admit what they're planning to do if they get into power. They are actively telling the public and the media that they will seek investigations and prosecutions against their political opponents. And while they're doing all of that, they're accusing the president of weaponizing the federal government. How do you say those two things in the same sentence? Isn't that interesting? So you have this governor, J.B. Pickster, we got to find a new name for him because he's unhinged, admitting that he's going to prosecute ICE officers. First of all, you're a governor, so what are you really going to do? That's number one. But number two, why would you be trying to go after law enforcement? They're not doing anything to you. They're following their constitutional duty. I said this yesterday. For all the people who are crying so much about what this Trump is doing, or the Trump administration is doing regarding mass deportation, why didn't you guys change the law when you had power? When there was a majority, House, Senate, and the presidency, you guys did not do anything regarding illegal immigration. You didn't even create a law to say, hey, you know what? If you've been in the country for 30 years and you still don't have your papers, here is this application. Take this route. Use this program. They didn't do any of that. They didn't seek to fix anything. And don't give me the whole, oh, well, there was a bill to secure the border and Trump threw it down. Listen, that bill is nothing compared to what the president did in just 2 months on the border. So just stop it. All right. The illegal immigration is a political talking point for both sides. They don't want to fix the issue. That's why it's still not being fixed. Isn't that interesting? Where is a bill right now regarding illegal immigration? Where is a bill right now addressing how people come to this country and get their citizenship? There is none right now because they don't want to fix it. So all these people crying and screaming about deportations and how it's aggressive and all this other stuff, I don't want to hear any of that. You guys should have changed the law when you had the opportunity. And now that Republicans and the president is getting smart, because I'm not too sure Republicans were this smart to do what we're seeing here as far as these maps are concerned. I think it's the president who's smart politically. He's one of a kind. And that's why Republicans feel so emboldened, because he's willing to do whatever it takes to get these political wins, to adhere to the mandate that he was given. And he believes the only way to deliver on that mandate is not to give Congress back to Democrats. And I second that. Again, there's plenty of things that we can disagree with Republicans on, and I'm right there at the top of it. Again, I don't think they're really great at selling. I don't think all of their policies are good. I don't think they really get anything done in Congress. There's no question about it. And so I'm not looking for Republican or Democrat. I'm looking for an action taker. I'm looking for results. That's what separates President Trump from the Republican Party. I think the Republican Party only tolerates the president because he's a winner. If he didn't win, they wouldn't give him the time of day. That's why there's a lot of contradictions from Republicans in Congress in regards to the president. He's an action taker. He gets things done. And right now, that's what the American people want. They want results. Republicans aren't really going to give us results. They haven't given us results. That's why notoriously they've been losing. It's only President Trump that changed everything. You remove him from the equation, I think it's likely Democrats would still be in power. That's why I said results tell the story. Okay. Let's see if we have time for this clip from this NAACP lawyer who's arguing in front of the Supreme Court right now, who makes a stunning admission about the Democrat Party. Take a listen to this.
That's right. And in the state of Louisiana, that analysis was conducted in the Nairn case. And it was clear that regardless of party, white Democrats were not voting for black candidates, whether they were Democrats or not. And we know that there is such a significant chasm between how black and white voters vote in Louisiana that there's no question that even if there is some correlation between race and party, that race is the driving factor.
Can you comment on the Solicitor General's suggestion at page 20?
Yes. So let me repeat it to you. White Democrats refuse to vote for black candidates, but Republicans are racist, right? That's what we started off this show with today because of the chat group. According to these pundits on CNN, Republicans are a racist party. Again, there's a difference between what people say and what people do. If white Democrats refuse to vote for black candidates, I think that probably makes them racist at some shape or form or some level. Don't you think that's a bigger problem than what some immature kids in a chat group what they're saying from a sarcastic level or with jokes? They're ignorant statements. They're immature. I wouldn't expect anything less from young people. It's just the way it is, especially men. Listen, a 22-year-old today, he's still wet behind the ears. He can't even think for himself yet. His brain hasn't even developed. That is a scientific fact. So I'm not going to bring down, hell on this chat group. But what I will say, a grown man who's running to be the Attorney General of Virginia, wanting his political opponent to be assassinated, yeah, I think we should probably be focusing on that. And then you heard this stunning admission from the NAACP lawyer who white Democrats don't want to vote for black candidates. I'm not following that exactly. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys. You guys let me know if you guys see it the same way in what we discussed in today's video. All right, so what we're going to do right now is go to the chat and see what you guys have to say about all this. What are your thoughts? Starting on YouTube again. Let's see here. Let me catch up with you guys. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, starting from the top, how do we know comments were imposed by Democrats? We don't know that. But what I said is that this organization did not deny that these comments were made. So they know the comments were made. It was leaked. I mean, again, the comments are one thing, but the fact that it was leaked is a whole nother thing. I think that's troubling. Let's see here. Acting like these is just kids is ignorance. No. What I'm saying is to expect a 22-year-old to think like a 34-year-old, that's ignorance. Okay? That's number one. Number two, what they're saying is definitely stupid. It's ignorant, no question about it. But should this get national attention and turn into this whole Republicans are the party of racism? Is that what you're saying? Is that what we're reaching to? How do you know someone's racist? How about that? I challenge people to tell me, how do you know someone is racist? That's been one of the most troubling questions I don't have an answer for. And I'm black. If someone was to criticize me or even discriminate against me, does that make them racist? I'm not too sure. According to the definition, I'm not too sure. So why don't we try to find the right words to describe what's actually happening? Ignorant young adults in a chat group said some stupid, vile, ignorant things. And they said them in the tone of sarcasm and jokes. And the chat was leaked. Should it be condemned? Yeah. Should it be a national story? Probably not. But again, like I said, Republicans aren't really great at PR, so it will be a national story, and Democrats are going to eat this up and try to amplify it. That's exactly what's going to happen. All right, let's go to Rumble and see what you guys have to say about this. Don't care about the meltdown. Neither do I. Neither do I. I'm not really concerned by it. I'm more concerned about Jay Jones. Maybe it was planned. I know a lot of people are saying that. I think it's gross, but Democrats are hypocrites. I agree. Oh, yeah, let me catch up. Ooh, we're all the way up there. Let's come back down. I'm more worried about a potential candidate for AJ who wants people shot. I am with you. Shots are a perception of intake, and many people are prone to arrive. Let's see here. There we go. DeVory, do you think Republicans will keep the push back based on... I don't know what you're trying to ask there. If they discriminate racially, they're racist. If they make stupid comments, not necessarily. Yeah, that is a good point. But how do you know they're discriminating against you based on race. We can discriminate against people based on their height. Women do that every single day. Don't get me started on that, because I know some of you will be triggered. We discriminate against things every single day as Americans. So I think when we're going to use words like that, we should probably make sure there's definitive evidence to support it. But again, that's intellect, that's critical thinking, something I think they're not teaching at the universities anymore, because everything's racist, everything's hate speech these days, right? Well, that's why I keep telling you guys this show is all about common sense. Common sense during these uncommon times, showing you what both sides are saying, because I think this country lacks critical thinking skills. I think we lost our ability to disagree without turning violent. And when I say we, I'm just saying as a nation. Obviously, I don't think conservatives are that way. But I continue to pray and continue to be hopeful and optimistic that things will change, especially with the younger generation, given the work that Charlie Kirk did, right? So with that, I think I've said enough. You guys let me know how you felt about today's show. Just put all your thoughts and more in the chat or comment section after the fact. We're live Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, live streaming on Rumble and YouTube. Rumble Premium on Friday if you really want me to ask your particular question and have a conversation with you. And with that, I want to say God bless you and God bless the United States of America. Take care, guys.